So for this question here, we're asked to use the graph to determine the leading term with the least possible degree. So because these functions are polynomial functions, what we're asked to identify from the polynomial, okay, is essentially just what is this term? What are the numbers for this value here and the degree of this thing? Well, we can determine again the value of a sub n, the leading coefficient, by looking at the right side of the graph. Since the right side of the graph is pointing downwards, that means that the leading coefficient has to be a negative number. So a sub n has to be some negative number, and for simplification purposes, let's assume that that value is going to be negative 1. So our first term has a negative 1 x to a power. Well, now to figure out what that power is, what the least possible degree is, the least possible power, all we have to do is just simply look at one of two things. Look at the number of turns and add 1 to it. Since it has 2 turns, 2 plus 1 is 3. So the degree would have to be at least 3. Or another trick we can do is by looking at the x-intercept. See how many x-intercept it has. Since it has 3 x-intercepts, again, that value right there, then that would have to be the least possible degree, 3. So this would have to be raised to at least the third power, which is what we're trying to do. So this is the answer for this particular graph. And for the other graph, the only difference is that since the right side is pointing upwards, the leading term will now just be a positive value. We'll assume that that number will be a positive 1, because it could be any positive value, but for simple purposes, we'll say it's 1. So a sub 1, so 1x, and again, because of the 2 turns, 2 plus 1 is 3, the degree would have to be at least 3. So this would have to be raised to at least the third power. So this is what the leading term would look like to create a graph that looks something like that.